Well then, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Friday night, you know what that means. That's right, it is the World Tour Championship here at TOGA Motorsport. We are at the beautiful South African track, Kyalami. World famous, loved by racers everywhere. Brilliant track for GT racing in the past, hosted F1 races as well. But this very, very technical track is loved by everyone. We are here for, I believe we're now in round 3. Round 3? Yeah, it must be, because it started the same week as Rookie Wednesdays did. So we're in round 3 here of the World Tour Series. So this is the halfway point for these guys. You know, this is where people are going to start kind of working out what they're fighting for, where their pace is. And we're going to see some really great racing here tonight. I can promise you that much for free. Joining me in the comms box tonight is the very wonderful Zeta. Zeta, how are you doing?
I am doing very well. Good evening, everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, good to be back. It's been a while.
No, absolutely. It is great to have you back. It's been a long time since we've commentated together. Actually, I can't even think of the last time. It might have been an endurance race at some point where we did some bits together. I think might have been the last time we did any commentary with each other.
Probably. Was it? It might have been the 6 hours of Nords.
It might have been the 6 hour of Nords. I think it quite possibly was the 6 hours of Nords.
Yes, it was, because it was that awesome battle at the end between the Lexus and...
Yes, George Boothby was coming back through the grid, wasn't he? They'd started from last.
I think they didn't qualify. They didn't put qualifying time in. Yeah. And they just did the last to first challenge, basically, for 6 hours.
Yeah, unsurprising for George Boothby, really. That man is accustomed to just winning things all the time. But yeah, here we are. We're in, as I said, the wonderful South Africa. A couple of minutes into qualifying, still got the better part of qualifying left to go. Early times coming in put Ethan Faulkner at the top of the table. Obviously, the man who had great success last time out in the World Tour Series as well. Also at the top at the moment is Lucas Bergold. You've got Chris Southcott as well. Quan du Plessis, who obviously had that really nasty second lap accident at Silverstone, which put him to the back of the grid, and he never really recovered from that one. The only Audi in the field last week, and I believe that is the same this week. Indeed it is. The only driver running that Audi R8 Evo. Grant Willimot as well with a decent run last week in that BMW. He was fighting up and around the podium positions before picking up drive-through penalty, I believe, for track limits, if my memory serves, which I hope it does, considering it was only last Friday that this race happened. However, I've started uni since then, so I've taken on a lot of new information in the last 7 days. So the last World Tour race might have been shuffled to the back a little bit.
And just following the timing screens and what's going on track, Willamot has just gone first. 1 minute 40.122.
Yeah, tasty little lap time, about 3/10 ahead of Ethan Faulkner in that 167 Ferrari. A track really that suits. Well, it doesn't suit the BMW. The BMW suits the track, I think, more so. You know, very stable, very good on acceleration out of corners. And also because you've got a natural benefit in a straight line, and there's not loads of straight lines here at Kyalami, you can afford to run a slightly higher wing on this BMW around here, a slightly higher drag setup, which means that you are better through the corners, which is one of the benefits of having a car that is naturally faster in a straight line. You can put on a little bit more downforce to kind of be even on top speed with the rest of the field and be faster through the corners than them, without it costing you anything.
This is true, although it isn't too bad for those with the mid-engines. The track does balance up, because it's a bit twistier. Having that slightly more rearward balanced car does help the front end turn in onto some of these more awkward corners, particularly going down into the S's where it's a touch off camber but fairly steeply downhill.
Yeah, absolutely.
Into that compression at the bottom really can help just be able to flick that front end in and it stick.
Yeah, I think the real thing that the BMW suits around here is the curbs. The BMW will eat curbs. It's the same with the Aston Martins. I wouldn't be surprised if they have a decent run around here, although I think they've been hard done by the by the BOP. And those slow speed corners as well, you know, having that weight over the front axle really helps the front end bite into those slow speed corners, which is something that, again, your Aston Martins, your BMWs, anyone in a Mercedes potentially, they'll be seeing the benefits from that through these slower speed corners where front grip is really necessary, especially to counter the understeer that you'll get on throttle coming out of those slow speed corners.
Indeed, and that is what we will see as a benefit from Barry in the Porsche, as per usual. He's running one of those, and he's obviously got that rear engine. That is a surprising advantage out of slow speed corners, to be able to get the grunt down to the road. And just having a look at the BOP as well, the Astons are up 17 kilos.
Oof.
And that is a car that does not like having a lot of ballast added. So that's, I feel like, possibly a slightly unfair amount of ballast for that car, just because it's so short and surprisingly heavy already.
Yeah, and I tell you what, the Porsche is going to go well around here because it has arguably the best acceleration of any GT3 car. The punch that this Porsche has out of slow speed corners is really, really noticeable. So as much as it...
Getting it hooked up out of the hairpin at the top of the hill,
yeah,
that's going to be... You'll see it start to pull there.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, coming out of the final corner for the run down towards turn 1 as well, you'll see that that acceleration coming in. The car might not have the best top speed overall, but the punch out of the corners means that generally you can be alongside whoever you're fighting with, if not ahead of them. Now,
and then just its sheer lack of weight means you can stamp on the anchors so much later.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're into the final kind of 4 minutes, coming up on the final 4 minutes here. Juan Duplessis has currently put himself second overall in that Audi, but I tell you who I'm looking at the moment, Ethan Faulkner, but he's gone invalid according to ACC Race Control. So even though at the moment he's improving by kind of around the margin that he needs to get onto pole position, he's not actually going to keep that lap, which is going to be very disappointing for him. This is Dan Nielsen, who last week I think I accidentally called Dan Edvardson a couple of times. My bad. Dan Edvardson, a different driver, both Finnish, which I think is where I got confused. But he's improving by quite a bit at the moment, 3/10 across the line. It's going to see him move to P9, just ahead of Gabriele Crepezzi in the Racing G McLaren.
Caldellini, down in 17th, is almost a second up on their clear of 3/4 of a second up, coming to the last couple of corners now of the lap. So
yeah, Mattia Calandini.
Keep an eye on.
Yeah, Mattia Calandini. Slightly wide there.
No, it's kept it legal, but has lost a couple of tenths on the exit. That penultimate corner is horrible.
Yeah. What I was just going to say, Mattia Calandini, one of the VM Technology kind of progression drivers under the coaching of Davide Mandalesi, also running a VM Technology racing livery, as you can see here. This is what the one on the McLaren would look like if it had synced, but my Awesome Sim Racing again has decided to betray me with telling me that liveries have synced when they haven't. So I do apologise if some liveries are there and some liveries aren't. I genuinely want to rip my hair out at Awesome Sim Racing sometimes. I've done my best, but it tells me the liveries have synced, and then I reload the server and they're just not there. And I can see that you guys have uploaded them. I can see that they're there in Awesome Sim Racing, so I don't know why they're not showing up. I think I might need to do a fresh reinstall and redo my directory and make sure that everything's properly working, because some of them show up and some of them don't, and there's literally no rhyme or reason as to which ones do and which ones don't. So yeah.
Yeah. That is all good. Who else is out there? Calandini managed to go into 9th, so that took that away from Nielsen. Also has been pipped by Valeno.
Vianello, yeah, Dario
Vianello,
Vianello, yeah.
Has been picked into 9th as well, which has dropped into 10th, so that has dropped Nielsen down into 11th now. Those three have. Candini is still out and improving by about 2/10, so has made up all that time 4/10. Oh,
Yeah.
this is going to be interesting.
Yeah, this could be tasty. This could put him around that kind of P6 area. It does indeed, straight into P6, yeah.
It's P6 with a 40.685.
God, I tell you what, my quick maths has been good recently. Clearly getting back into education has kind of refined those skills again, even though I'm not doing anything vaguely related to maths. At least not until second year.
It comes into it, who else?
So I'm just looking... I'm looking at the moment at Chris Southcott, yeah.
Yeah.
Just because this could be...
He's made up almost all of that time.
Yeah, just because this could be a podium, a top 3 starting, at least for now. Other people are improving as well, who are currently inside the top 3, but for Chris Southcott this could at least temporarily be a top 3 start. Chris Southcott, a driver who really nailed it with the strategy last week, by the way, got the undercut in that took him out ahead of some of his rivals. Oh, he's gone wide at Camel there.
Ely jumps themselves... Ely? Sorry about that. Just jumps themselves up into 13th. Goes pulled almost 3/10 out of their lap time.
Yeah, Chris Southcott ended up not improving and has gone back to the pit lane. The checker flag is now flying, so anyone who crosses the line, that is their lap times done and set. Now, Ethan Faulkner needs a good run out of this final corner in this Visceral Esports Ferrari. He does get it. I think it's not going to be enough to improve his grid position. It isn't. He stays P4. But what a tight top 4. I mean, holy moly. 1.5 tenths.
Yeah, 0.105, 0.133, 0.155.
Yeah.
Is the gap.
I mean, 0.05 of a second covering second, third and fourth is utterly mental. This is going to be a crazy, crazy race. And look, we've got a similar thing further back as well. 11th through 13th. Covered by just less than 0.05 of a second. You know, these tiny little gaps are all over the place. This race is going to be madness, absolute madness. Can we have full track map on the right?
Lely got across the line to start that last one, as did Bergold. Bergold is out at the moment, is up by about 1/10 and a bit, so is challenging into. Potentially challenging into second. Indeed, goes second with 0.109 back. 190, sorry.
Yeah, and that is Grant Willamot, I think, improved again late in the day there.
Yes, he's cracked into the 39s. 39.970 on his last one.
Yeah, very, very quick. Very, very quick indeed. I will try and get the full track map on the right. I'm just going to have to search up what the hotkey for it is.
Did you not do it through settings? In ACC.
Say again, sorry?
Can you not do it through the settings in ACC?
It might be settings in ACC. Okay, is there any way, Zeta, that you could just move your mic kind of slightly closer to you at all?
I can see what I can do. I hope that helps. It's now sat on top of my monitor. The arm is sat on top of my monitor. The mic is significantly closer.
Have you got like a fan on in the background, or is that like your PC or something?
Oh, that might be my PC running up, like whatever it's doing. Give us a sec. I think that.
Alright, I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, whilst Zeta is pretty quickly sorting this out, I'm just going to do a little run through of the top 10. I would do the whole grid, but there's 24 drivers and I've only got 2 minutes, and that's not going to happen because I trip over names all the time. So taking pole position, Grant Willimot in the Stone Cold Racing 316 BMW. He'll be hoping for a cleaner race than last week where he picked up a drive-through for track limits. Lucas Bergold is second in the 217 Ferrari. These guys had a really great fight last time out at Silverstone. Let's hope that could be replicated. Quan Duplessis in the Radioli Esports 194 Audi, the only one in the field. He'll be looking to have a cleaner race than last time out at Silverstone, where he unfortunately was involved in an incident on lap 2 and fell down to the back of the grid. We then got Ethan Faulkner in the 167 Visceral Esports car. He had a great run last week to win the race, I believe, in the end, if my memory serves. I believe he did. Then we got Chris Southcote, pulled a strategy blinder to end up on the podium last week at Silverstone in the number 613 McLaren. Then we got a duo of Ferraris, the 58 and the 54 of Alberto Usei in the VM Technology car and Mattia Calandini in the VM Technology car. VM Tech being very well represented tonight, with obviously Davide Mandalesi being a close friend of the Toga Motorsport family. Elias Fernando in the number 23 Fernando Racing car starts in P8 with another McLaren of Luke Wilson, JP Motorsport, starting just behind number 420 being represented for Luke Wilson tonight. He'll be hoping for a fast race. He's a very quick driver, so I'm sure he'll be looking to get forwards, maybe in amongst the top 5, and see if anything can work from there. Then we've got Dario Vianello for the Sim Racing Team number 69 Ferrari 296. He starts in P10, rounds out that top 10. We've got, yeah, like I said, 24 drivers here on track tonight, so it is going to be a busy one. It's going to be possibly a little bit of a messy one. We'll wait and see. I'm going to see if I can get my full track map up. Circuit map enabled full. There we go. Hopefully now. Hey, there we go. I did technology things. Evening, Mank.
Dude, hello, Mank.
I hope you're doing well.
Yes.
And I'm assuming it's Latilu, 1985. I hope that that Zeta's mic issues have been sorted.
Hopefully I sound a bit better. If not, I will just have to talk a bit louder and hope for the best.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, underway now for the warm-up lap.
Yeah, formation lap, yeah.
Everything nice and toasty. And then we should be underway. Racing tonight for the... Was it 80 minutes? Yeah, 80 minutes. 1 hour 20.
Yeah, slightly, I say slightly, noticeably cooler temperatures than what we saw at Silverstone last week. Last week at Silverstone was, I think we were like 36 degrees track temperature. 36, 37 degrees track temperature, so keeping the tyres alive was very difficult. Thankfully it'll be slightly easier for the drivers this time.
Yeah, is there a mandatory full service stop, or is it fuel only?
It's fuel and tyres. It is fuel and tyres. Thank you to whoever that was that just did something. Unfortunately, I've got so much information open on my top screen that I didn't get to see the notification when it came through. But thank you for whatever that was. It sounded like a Twitch notification of some sort.
Ah, fair enough. That is everybody shuffling around and sorting themselves out. Looking down the grid. Regular names we've seen before. We have Tatari out there as well, starting down in 19th.
Yeah, Pierluigi Lelli, another familiar name. Gabriele Crepezzi, a familiar name. Brandon Fuller, familiar as well. Lucas James, obviously a familiar name. Yeah, we got lots of people that we know or who have raced in a TOGA event before, whether it was another World Tour season or just any other event that TOGA has put on. So good to see returning drivers coming back and continuing to enjoy the events that we put on here.
Indeed, for sure. It's always lovely to see familiar faces and new ones on the grid for everybody out there. I say familiar faces, a familiar name. That's Barry pointing the wrong way.
Oh, Barry. He's just warming up the tyres, I promise.
I don't know how you managed it, but you're pointing the wrong way in a Porsche. Let's do a quick replay and find out. You did this? and it was spotted by the commentary team, so we're going to have fun with that.
I would love to do a quick replay, but we're going green so soon here that I'm not going to be able to do one.
Ooh, goes on the brakes with the car going around the corner, the kink at the bottom of the hill, through mineshaft, and Porsche does Porsche things.
Yeah, so here we go. We're going to keep quiet now, at least momentarily, before this all kicks off. It's going to be Grant Willamot in that BMW M4 leading us away, and we are going to be going green any second now. Is just as we get towards this bridge. Here we go. So the green light is lit. Top 4 staying relatively orderly. In fact, I think most of the grid's staying relatively orderly. I'm going to keep my eye on this kind of front 4, 5, 6, see what's going on.
A little bit of contact.
Yeah, we might have some chaos at turn 1 here. Any major contact coming through here? There's a little bit of bumping, a little bit of door banging. I don't think anything too bad. I think people have survived. Which hopefully means that we might not get a red flag.
Yeah, everybody looks to be surviving so far down in the mid-pack. A little bit of door banging, but nothing too major. I believe it's Mandalese and Hagen were getting a bit close to each other, along with Galmini and O'Reilly in amongst that lot as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Davide going for a run round the outside on O'Reilly. Doesn't quite manage to make that one stick. Is now under fire from the Porsche behind. Lely is trying to make their way up the field. Is currently side by side up into the hairpin at the top of the course. Who's got the brave pill going into there? Too wide all the way through the apex. Nicely done. Unfortunately, Lely does lose out on that one. Is desperately trying to fight back on the way down the hill in the draft. There.
Yeah, at the front, Ethan Faulkner getting past Quan Duplessis. Oh, there's contact there through the right-hander. A little bit of door banging, but I think Finlay O'Reilly was there. I think he deserved to be given the space, and I don't think Lely necessarily gave it to him. So I think that one might be written off as an NFA by the stewards. Chris Southcote has had a problem, down into 11th. I reckon he's probably gone off track coming through Camel. Not what he would have wanted. Started P5. At the moment, it's Alberto Usai finding himself in P5 after having started, I believe, in P8. So that's a brilliant, or P7. So that's a brilliant little drive from him so far. Luke Wilson also finding a couple of positions. He definitely started in P8, and he's currently up to P6. So like I said, knocking on the door of that top 5 at the moment. And Dan Nielsen at the moment just struggling a little bit. He's lost. Actually, no, he stayed stable where he started. He started P12. So he's gained a couple and then lost a couple. He'll be hoping to settle into a rhythm in this race and just keep things moving. Davide Mandalese has gotten ahead of Pierluigi Lelli. At the same time, Gallamini has gotten ahead of Barry Hagen, who's having a couple of issues as well.
Just had a quick replay on what happened to Southcott. Going through the side-by-side user on the outside through the penultimate corner. Gets a bit of a tag and ends up managing to keep it out the wall, but does end up running wide through the gravel and has to rejoin on the inside there going into the last corner. So all contact beyond that point was avoided, but there was a couple of a little bit of contact there that sent them wide, which is what's dropped them down.
Latilu, we don't run on pit wall for these races. Whoa, that was almost a massive send from Davide. Oh, Finlay O'Reilly had to really think about whether he needed to leave the door open there. In the end, he didn't have to. As Mattia Calandini having a little bit of a fight here with Elias Fernando. There's been a problem further back. Dan Nielsen losing a lot of positions. I would assume he's probably been off at Camel as well.
That was off back at the penultimate corner as well, yeah. Ran wide by the looks things. Possibly clipped the curb on the inside, that colossal sausage curb.
Oh, now Mattia Calandini trying around the outside at turn 1, gets the move done coming through turn 2. Beautiful outside move from the Ferrari driver there on Elias Fernando, really, really nice. And Ethan Faulkner also right there on the tail of Lucas Bergold for P2. These guys fighting is letting Grant Willamot open that gap over a second now. The BMW has on Lucas Bergold, and he's going to be loving that.
For sure. What else have we got going on? Hagen and Gelmini are battling it out, and that's bringing
Savidus.
Savidas, sorry,
No, don't worry.
into the fight. They've strung out a little bit now, but they were side by side coming out the previous corner before dropping into the S's. So it will be very much a case of looking forward and back for Galmini, as they know they have got company, as Hagen is going past. That was Mandalese. Mandalese's dropped down 2 places there. Didn't see what happened.
No, I'm not
but
sure what's
evidently
happened there.
slow out the hairpin.
Yeah, clearly been some side-by-side contact with someone ending up, I would assume, in the grass for Davide Mandalese, having to get out the throttle and losing a couple of positions. Not what he would have wanted, as Finley O'Reilly has gone wide, coming out of Camel, has dropped a couple of positions as well. That is going to be a running theme in these early laps. Camel is such an easy corner to get wrong, especially when you're right behind someone, as we're going to have a 3-wide fight coming into turn 1, I believe, here. Oh, maybe not. Maybe not. Oh, under braking, it might become a 3-wide battle into turn 1. Oh, indeed it does.
Ferrari
And Tatari has come out ahead of both of them. What a move!
Fantastic! That is Tatari, everybody. welcome to the race. As we see some cars going wide on.
Yeah, in the background, yeah.
There.
That was a brilliant move from Tatari. Just
It was just knew they had the brakes stamped on him, and just was able to thread the needle on the brakes.
yeah, really made it work.
What else have we got going on? O'Reilly and Nielsen. O'Reilly chasing Nielsen down.
Chris Southcote is going to be looking to get past Elias Fernando here. He is ahead into the braking zone. He's ahead at the apex, and I think he's probably going to get this move done. He's got the inside line for this little left-hand kink, and indeed he does. That move is done. Chris Southcote, having come from P12 or 13, goes back into the gravel at Camel. Rejoins safely, keeps the position on the inside, although Elias Fernando is now going to have a run down the front straight, and they've got to watch out because they have got Jordan McGonigal right behind them in the Emil Frey Racing Ferrari.
Indeed, it's too wide in on the brakes. This is battle of who's the last of the late breakers. McGonigal starts having a look on Southcott.
That was so close. That was so close to contact. That was mad. Oh, Elias Fernando drifting through the apex. Chris Southcote really piling on the pressure here. He really does need to get past if he wants to get back in contact with the kind of top 5, top 6, because they are not a small amount of seconds up the road anymore. They've stretched that lead.
Calandini in 7th is 2 seconds up the road. Wilson and Calandini are fighting it out together for those two. That's Ferrari versus McLaren.
Yeah, but the top 5 now are good kind of 5 seconds away, you know.
Yeah, I was going to say it's 2.5 seconds up the road to usurp beyond Wilson. So Wilson fighting with Calandini is causing those two to drop back a little bit from them as well. Duplessis in the Audi is trying to stay in touch with Faulkner, although Faulkner definitely looks like they've got the legs on him for now. That gap opening up. News also right back at the front. Bergold is starting to close that gap. It's come down from it was opening up, and it's just started to come down as Faulkner now goes and sets the fastest lap.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are really, really quick at the moment. You know, you can't deny it. I think it's really going to come down to strategy for these guys. I think Ethan Faulkner and Lucas Bergold have probably both realised that actually fighting with each other isn't the most productive thing they can be doing. The top 4 here, realistically, are all within a chance of winning this race. And anyone who isn't in first, there's no point fighting with each other unless you're inside the kind of last 5 minutes and you're looking to fight for the last podium spots or whatnot. For now, you need to focus as a group, kind of working towards the leader. because that's the real target for these guys in the top 4 right now. You know, they're all within striking distance of that P1 if they put in a couple of decent laps on the trot. So that's what they really need to focus on doing.
It is starting to look, I'm probably going to eat my words in a minute, but it's starting to look like Elias is being a little bit of a cork in the bottle. There is now a 4-car train, including that McLaren, back to 11th, that's starting to form now behind them. So he's doing a decent job of hanging on to onto the position. He is clearly under a lot of pressure from Southcott, but as a result, it's bringing more people into this fight.
There's been a spinner at the back, Daniele Gambarelli. I'm not sure if there was contact involved with someone kind of around where Tatari is, because that's where he was running beforehand. So there might have been some small contact involved as Chris Southcott does get past Elias Fernando. I wasn't watching at the time to see what happened, but considering what the gap was coming into that corner, I'd assume Elias Fernando probably ran a little bit wide and Chris Southcott just got the move done on the brakes into the final hairpin, as now Elias Fernando is going to have to watch out. Jordan McGonigal into the outside line through turn 2, turns to the inside line at turn 3. That Ferrari is good on the brakes. It's a block pass through the apex. Those are completely clean. You're allowed to do that. And it is a brilliant demonstration of a block pass through turn 3 as Jordan McGonigal does come out ahead in that particular battle. And that's Elias Fernando losing 2 positions in almost as many corners.
Indeed, and his day's not done. He's got the Ferrari of...
It's Dario Vianello.
Yeah, Vianello behind him as well. So this three-car train as Southcott has already pulled a 1.5 second gap on McGonigal already. So that shows you just how much of a train was starting to form there. Is that gap has just gone out straight away. Hagen and Mandalese are still fighting. A little bit of contact there as they go down through mineshaft. Hagen's on the inside, but it will be the outside for this next corner. Big dive on the brakes from Mandalese, but there's contact behind. Hagen checks up on the brakes and gets tagged by, I think that was Galmini, as they were just shuffled out wide by Mandalese on the brakes. And there's a little bit of contact there, and that has left the door open for Tatari to get through as well. So Hagen not having a fun time there, losing 2 places when they were aiming to try and gain 1. As O'Reilly is now battling with Mandalese. Mandalese, it looks like they've got the drive on the exit of the corner on the run down into the S's. It looks like they got that done nicely. Who's got the brakes up into the hairpin for the run down through mineshaft? Whoa, that was a huge send by O'Reilly. We're never going to get that pulled up in time. Does avoid any contact. Mandalese sees it coming and gets out of the steering, but that has dropped O'Reilly now down into 20th place. Has left him slow down the hill, and has lost out to James there in the Aston Martin, as well, having run out onto the grass.
Hello, sorry, I'm back. I was just
right.
just checking in with my girlfriend. She's just left work. She was just
That is
checking
fine.
that we're having like a marinated chicken for dinner tonight, and she wanted to make sure that I'd actually remembered to put the chicken in the marinade, because I've got a severe case of sieve brain sometimes, and especially when I've got like multiple things to do, my brain just forgets what order I was going to do them in, and then I forget to do tasks. Some people say that I've got like ADHD or autism or something. I just stick my head in the sand and refuse to listen to them.
Honestly, I do the same thing. I go, I've got a long list of stuff to do, and then completely forget to do any of it.
But yeah, I'm back in the room now.
Engrossed in something else and completely forget to do it. So yeah, that is Fernando has been up and down with the gap to McGonagall. I think McGonagall is just starting to open out. Fernando, I think possibly just looking at the way they're coming out of that chicane, got a bit of a wiggle on. I think they're just starting to overdrive that car a little bit and make mistakes as a result of overdriving it and losing time. Vianello has dropped back a little bit from this group, not quite as tight behind as they were. Possibly just trying to preserve those front tyres and just try and make pull the gap back to those in front and try and pull up as the cars in front start to catch and fight with other cars to then capitalise on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we are over 15 minutes into this race. That has disappeared already.
Yeah, absolutely. Samu Pat 83 saying Gallamini, go, go, go. Well, Gallamini currently running in 16th, running some pretty good lap times as well. A 41.7 is nothing to be ashamed of around Kyalami. This is it's a very technical track, and that is a good lap time to be putting in. So yeah, he's running a tidy little race at the moment. In fact, he might be looking to get past. He's having a little battle with Davide Mandolesi. I'll tell you what, just for you, Samu Pat 83, I'll show this little battle that these guys are having right now. There's Fabio Gallamini in that 777 Ferrari, looks to get past the number 71 BMW of Davide Mandolesi. God, I tell you what, Gallamini is right with him, isn't he? If he was much closer, he'd be pushing him through the corners. He's just got to try and find somewhere where that Ferrari is enough better than the BMW to make the move happen. Either that or force Davide Mandolesi into a mistake, which is not a particularly easy thing to do for Davide Mandolesi.
No, although we have seen some particularly aggressive driving tonight from somebody who is normally a very chilled out human being. Having chatted to him a few times, he is a very chilled out human being, but seeing some very aggressive, very deep lunges into some corners against people on there, and really getting his elbows out when side by side with people. So not one to be trifled with tonight.
There's going to be a move here. Elias Fernando gets the run on Jordan McGonigal coming down the front straight on the brakes. Jordan McGonigal was better the last time they came through here. He's not better this time, and he has to check up coming out the corner as Elias Fernando gets all sorts of sideways in front of him. So that is going to be move made for Elias Fernando. I have a funny feeling that's not the last we're going to be talking of this battle, especially not with Dario Vianello now equally as far behind Jordan McGonigal as McGonigal is behind Elias Fernando. That battle is going to keep on raging for a good few laps, I would expect. Unless Elias Fernando can find some pace and really open up the gap.
Again, that gap up at the front has really started to reel in. We're talking a few laps ago, it was out around a second and a quarter. It is now down to under a second, it's 0.8. So knocking on the door of Grant Willamont there is Bergold, Lucas Bergold there. So that's going to be one again to keep an eye on. This battle for the lead isn't over immediately, as they are catching up, and Faulkner, as a result of these two starting to get a bit closer, I think Faulkner and Bergold Faulkner has the fastest lap and was faster on the last couple of laps by than Willamont. So both those cars are closing in now on the leader.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the thing is with the pace this close at the front, you can gain and lose really easily. The gaps they come down by a tenth one lap, and then the next lap they go up by a tenth again. The pace is so close that even just a tiny little mistake or a lap that just isn't quite perfect will will expand the gap in a way that isn't really truthful to their overall pace. So it's going to take a lot of laps of extreme consistency from anyone in this top three at the moment to either build a gap or to close a gap. So it is going to be a long game. I have a funny feeling there could be some pit strategy here. Obviously, Kyalami pretty heavy on the front tyres. Those slow corners where the mechanical grip really comes into effect has a negative effect on the health of those front tyres. And so do those sweepers. Those downhill sweepers are really nasty on front tyres. The weight exchange the cars do not like, particularly going through that little S chicane.
Indeed, going through the S's, it's the front end goes really light as you come over the top, and then it is a huge compression into the bottom of it as you start coming up towards the hairpin end of.
Big moment, sorry, just saying, big moment for, I believe that was Dario, no, it was Jordan McGonigal. Big moment for Jordan McGonigal coming out of Camel. Got very, very sideways, managed to catch the car, quite impressively so, because he had a good, probably 20-30 degrees of slide angle going. Yeah, not a fun one for him. And just quickly, shout out to Emirius, thank you for resubscribing. I don't know why it didn't pop up on screen. My browser links for some reason just haven't been working. I've got the most recent ones and I heard the noise, so they're there. They're just not showing up, and I don't know why that is. But yeah, thank you very much for resubscribing at Tier 1. 4 months now. Yeah, thank you very much for your support.
It's greatly appreciated. This has put McGonigal well away from Elias now, but it has put very much them into the clutches of Vianello there on the back of them. So that is very much somebody who is looking to try and get past and catch up on terms with Elias, but he's now very much looking in his rearview mirror. Takes a slightly wider apex, cuts it back in out the hairpin onto this backstretch, down through the hill of Mineshaft and into the hairpin at the bottom. That's a battle that we're probably going to come back to at some point. And it looks like there's been a chunk of consistency up the front, because again, that has come back a jump away
just
from
quickly, we're going to talk about this battle here. 3 cars, Tatari, Finley O'Reilly and Lucas James, all battling it out, all in different cars, Ferrari, McLaren, Aston Martin. I think this battle is going to keep raging as well, as again it's a spin for Gambarelli, and if he doesn't get moving sometime soon, he's returned to the pits and he's left the session. Gambarelli calling it for tonight. Clearly not a track that he's massively getting along with.
Yeah, I just did a quick replay on that, and it was just a long, lazy slide into that corner. Just let them ended up running out wide.
Lucas James looking for a move at turn 1 on Finley O'Reilly. He can't quite be late enough on the brakes in that Aston Martin compared to the McLaren to get up the inside, so that one isn't going to work for him.
What's going on? That gap up at the front now down to 0.4 of a second to Bergold. Faulkner has dropped back a little bit from these two that are coming on into contact with each other now. Faulkner's dropped back, but Bergold is definitely starting to catch. I wonder whether that is 20 minutes in, if Southcott's been pushing a little bit too hard with that front engine, whether they've just started to chew up the front tyres a little bit more than they would have liked this early in the race.
Yeah, absolutely, it is a possibility. I guess there's a chance as well that Chris Southcott is confident that he'll... sorry, not Southcott, Willamette is confident that he'll be able to stay ahead. So maybe he's just letting off the pace a little bit, letting the tyres kind of cool down so that he's still got some pace for the last kind of 16 minutes of this stint before we start seeing people coming into the pit lane. Because it's not going to be long now. With 40 minutes to go is when we'll be expecting people to make pit stops. Some people might pit a little bit early, go for a little bit of an undercut, see if the fresher tyres can help them leapfrog, especially if they're in a close battle where the gap is like below a second. You might see people doing that. We might see, possibly there might be someone that goes for an overcut. You know, someone who's loaded up on fuel and is planning on running slightly longer, has run slightly slower in this opening stint because of having that heavy fuel on board, but in the second stint will be able to run ridiculously quickly. There's a possibility someone might pull that. I don't know if Kyalami would necessarily be the best track for that to happen.
Yeah, just looking at everything. Might be the case. Southcott decided to run high on fuel, but send it early on to try and build a gap to then back off and make the tyres last in this first half of the race. I mean, 40 minutes isn't too bad on these tyres. You know, these cars will quite happily do an hour on their tyres, but you do have to look after them reasonably well if you're going to do a full hour-long stint on them. So there is an element in which, yes, they will probably burn them up more like a qualifying session, just because they're not having to go quite as long as they otherwise would on these tyres. So those are the longer one. I think they may struggle if they try and run too long on these cars, particularly the pace that we've seen tonight so far. I think trying to run too long will just result in you having too little front end in the car by the time you get to your pit stop, and I don't think you have enough in the car, enough time to make up the damage that would be done by doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. I could see maybe like Juan de Plessis. That Audi is pretty comfortable on full fuel. You know, he's 6 seconds back from the podium at the moment. But if he runs an extra 10, maybe 15 minutes in his stint and comes out with fresher tyres and lower fuel overall, that time, you know, that gap could shrink quite easily. We've seen that he's on the pace of these guys because he was only, you know, 500ths off of Ethan Faulkner in qualifying. So the pace is there for Juan de Plessis. It'll be interesting to see whether he now starts to open the taps a little bit more on his tyres. Someone's round, it's the 86. And there's front end damage on that car.
Ooh, what happened to you? Let's have a quick look back on that one. Ooh, this was with Mandalese.
The damage isn't horrific.
2 wide. All good. Down through the S's.
It was
a bit of a nuzzle from, I don't know how else best to describe it. Bit of a nuzzle coming out of the S's from Mandalese there. Just gets into the, I think the Aston didn't quite accelerate as fast as was expecting out of there, and just runs into the back of Nielsen there, and
basically pivots him around the central mass, I guess.
It spins him off the front end, so straight into the pits there for Nielsen. So that will be a long stop, unfortunately. There.
Yeah, hopefully it won't be too bad.
So far, there's not been anything come through on Discord for any penalties. We did see a warning in qualifying for 554.
No, yeah, we've not had any penalties yet.
Unpredictability causing a collision, but nothing major there. That has put Fuller up a position now as well in the 973 car. One of the things you may wish to do with possibly in a slightly bigger field than this, or with a bit of a range of speeds from the drivers, you may want to pit a little early if you were going to catch, to try not to catch the markers. If you're going to catch them at the wrong point around your stops, you may as well bail for the pits so you don't end up running into the back markers and lose time and shred your tyres that bit further. But it looks like back markers aren't going to be too much of a factor until very late on in this race.
Yeah, absolutely. Nielsen now, by the way, been stationary for 56 seconds, that pit stop, so 26 seconds of damage. Tell you what, the front end of that car did not look like it was 26 seconds damaged.
It went
so that's
in
really
hard
unfortunate.
on that front corner. It went in hard on the front right corner, so I think what happened is whilst the bodywork didn't look too bad, it's probably shunted the suspension around quite a bit.
Yeah.
Hence the immediate pit stop, because if that thing's not going in a straight line, that's not going to be a fun car to drive.
No, absolutely. Quick note, Ethan Faulkner now within a second of Lucas Bergold as well. Last lap, both Grant Willamette and Lucas Bergold in the 1 minute 41s, Ethan Faulkner a 1:40.8.
Ooh, that is a big jump as well.
So yeah, this gap is definitely closing. With 10 minutes to go until kind of expected pit stops, I wouldn't be surprised if one of this top three comes in slightly early for an undercut, whether it's Grant Willamette to try and protect his lead, or if it's one of the two behind him to try and leapfrog the queue, if you know what I mean.
I'm wondering if Willamette has cooked his tyres a little bit. It's not cold, but it's not overly hot, but it's not exactly cold out there. It's 22 air and 30 track temperature, which is still, it's particularly on a track that's this hard on its front tyres. The front engine cars will struggle that little bit more than the mid and rear engine cars, just because of the weight balance. Even though that the BMW is actually biased slightly to the rear in its balance, it still will have more physical weight on the front axle than the Ferrari and the McLaren. No, it's the two Ferraris following. So that's all potentially what started to happen. Is Willamette has had to back off a little bit just to preserve the stint length and preserve those tyres, and it's just doing a wonderful job of it, of just maintaining a gap of around half a second, plus or minus a little bit, over these last few laps. So doing a very good job of holding everybody behind them, and just managing the gap, but how much of that is force majeure because the cars are starting to be a bit recalcitrant in their inputs. Southcott is on the back of Wilson as well now, and is right on the back of that 420 car, and looking potentially to make a move at some point very soon.
Yeah, absolutely. The racing quality we see here in the World Tour Championship is really, really great. Obviously, it is one of the paid championships that TOGA runs, so this one does bring financial kickback for people who finish really well in these races. We try to run as few paid events in TOGA as we physically can. We like to keep as much as possible free, but obviously we have costs to cover, whether it's stuff for the Discord, whether it's stuff that we have to pay out to use certain features through a hosting platform, or whether it's server costs. You know, these servers, they cost us, and that is someone coming in. It's Mattia Calandini pulling the trigger early, possibly trying to get a little jump on Southcott and Luke Wilson. But back to what I was saying.
It was one of the Tech cars. I wasn't sure if it was Yusa or it was Calandini. It is Calandini that's in.
Yeah,
so it'll be interesting to see where they file out. There is, with how close this field is, I'm gonna guess they're gonna be lucky to stay out in front of. Ooh, they might end up stuck in the next group that's on its way through, with leading with the 999 all the way back to Shutio, although they've just dived into pits as well. Where is Calandini? Calandini is still stationary. Are they going to be out before 973? They can drop all the way to the back of the grid from where they were. 36 seconds. That was a long stop there. So I don't know if there was some damage or something that we can see, but that was a 36-second stop for that car.
Yeah, so back to where I was. Obviously, the costs are high running something like this, and we understand that not everyone's able to pay to like subscribe to the Twitch or whatever, because it is, you know, it's a couple of quid. I understand that, but if you're really enjoying what you're watching, first of all, if you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button, let us know you're liking the content, get the engagement. It opens us up to a wider audience of people who love racing. If you're on Twitch, hit that follow button. If you haven't already, hit the heart button. Show us that you're really liking this content. It's great feedback for us just to see what people do and don't like, what formats of racing people like seeing. Davide Mandalesi picks up a 15-second penalty. That'll be for the incident with Gambarelli, one would assume. No, not Gambarelli, Dan Nilsson. But if you really do like what you're seeing here at Toga, we have a Toga Motorsport membership program. It starts from as little as £1 a month for the bronze tier. It gets you early access to races. You can sign up early. You get 24 hours before it's announced to the rest of the Toga community. You can reserve your preferred driver number when you are signing up to races, so you can make sure that you have your driver number that you run with. Obviously, lots of people have sentimental numbers that they pick for when they're racing, so you can get that. If you join the tiers of our membership program, there are tiers where you get money off of the Toga merch store. There's multipliers on giveaways, which we try and do regularly, whether they're paid entry or free entry. You get a multiplier on those. You also get free entry up to a certain amount in our paid entry events as well. So if you are really enjoying what you're seeing here today, please do head to the TOGA Motorsport website, www.togamotorsport.co.uk. You can see all of our membership options there and set up a membership payment scheme. Like I said, as little as £1 a month, it really does help us. You know, when you take it into consideration, if 12 or 15 people were to pay that £1 a month, that would cover us running a server for a whole championship for a whole month. You know, so it really does add up. So please do consider doing that. Also, if you haven't already, follow us on Instagram. Again, Toga Motorsport, Twitter, Toga Motorsport. We're under the same at pretty much everywhere, I believe. And you can join our Discord through the website as well to check out any upcoming races we've got. We've got everything for everyone, I promise you. We've got stuff for the rookies, like you see here. We've got stuff for not here, sorry. We've got the rookies, which is Wednesday night, the Rookie Wednesdays, staple hold at Toga. We do stuff for people who take things a little bit more seriously, like the World Tour that you see here. And we do for fun events as well, the Community Bash every month, which actually is coming up probably this weekend, isn't it? Sunday. So yeah, there's plenty going on. So if you've enjoyed what you've seen here tonight, please do hop on over to the Discord and consider joining the membership program.
Indeed. Just as a quick update on everything that's been going on, flicking through some of the screens here, Dan Nielsen has managed to squeeze in the fastest through the speed trap at 146 kilometers an hour. I said miles an hour there. 246 k's through the speed trap, which is a fair chunk quicker than most of the grid. So that Aston is trimmed out.
I'm just going to step on your toes here. There might be a move into turn one here. I think the BMW might have the grunt against the Ferrari to keep it. Lucas Bergold is going to feign to the inside. No move yet, but Grant Willamot went wide coming through Camel, and Lucas Bergold is now right in his gearbox. So it's not going to be long until we see something here, and Jordan McGonigal becomes the first from the top 10 to pit. This is going to trigger pit stops in the top 10. Now we're going to see a lot of people come in relatively quick succession in this top 10, I would expect.
2 minutes to go to halfway, so yeah, it's starting to get to very much the right sort of time. We've seen a few people dive for pits. Mandalese, after picking up that penalty, immediately dived straight into the pits. They were in the right place to do so, so has dropped down the grid, but will gain some of those places back as the rest of the field pits, but that is going to be a long one for them. Obviously, you see Nielsen in the pits, 791, I'll get there eventually, of Sakutio has also pitted. Fuller's now in, and McGonigal is down and underway, and is out of the pit lane, so they have come back in 18th. After Savadis and Fuller have both also pitted as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, the pit stops are going to be coming thick and fast now as Ethan Faulkner comes in. I reckon that's an undercut bid here from Ethan Faulkner. If he can have a really, really fast outlap and get those tyres working quickly, he could jump the
Indeed,
he could jump the top two.
especially with the Wilmot and Bergold fighting each other a little bit. Bergold really trying to get chewing on the gearbox of Wilmot there, so that's one that's very much raging, and I feel like that was an attempt to try and get out of any potential accidents that may occur between these two, and also just to get out into try and get into some clear air with that car and get some quick laps whilst these two are fighting. Faulkner is down and away and is up the front of the pit lane, so will be out very quickly. Comes out in front of Tatari, who is as yet to pit. So Faulkner is the highest placed car here who has pitted so far, is in 11th. So those places should start to come back to them as those in front start to pit. Only dropped as far as 11th there, so that's a good one for them. Who else?
Yeah, so we've just crossed over that halfway mark, so it's going to be Grant Willimot. I would assume Grant Willimot and Lucas Bergold are both going to pit here.
I am wondering if, with the pace that Bergold's got, yeah, they're going to stay out.
Bergold stays out. Yeah, Grant Willimot comes in.
Bergold stays out. They've got the pace. They've got the tyres underneath them. If they can put a hot one now, or even a couple of hot ones, potentially, if they come back out, they can jump as a bit of an overcut there, because that BMW was clearly struggling on its tyres. As we see Usa into the pits as well, out of 4th place, and Southcott follows them in as well, drops them, and is dropping back now as Wilson goes through.
So I'll tell you who I'm going to be keeping an eye on here is Ethan Faulkner. Just his outlap alone might not be enough to get past Grant Willimot, but if his tyres are up to temperature, obviously Grant Willimot's won't be. If they're up to temperature, if they're up to pressure, he's going to be faster than Grant Willimot through all the corners, and there is a lot of those at Kyalami, to put it bluntly. So Grant Willimot, I don't think has yet got moving. Oh, he has. He's on pit lane exit. This is going to be really close here. Ethan Faulkner, he's going to have to try something here. Does he try a switch back? No, he tries to go around the outside at turn 1. He's there. Ethan Faulkner, this is effectively for P1 and P2 in terms of strategy at the moment. Grant Willimot fights it back. Oh, there's a little bit of door banging.
A little bit of door banging.
Yeah, Ethan Faulkner
right
goes off.
Onto that curve. I'm not sure I'm wondering whether all 4 wheels of that car, excuse me, were actually on the curb through the middle of that corner. Faulkner very much squeezed right to the apex there.
Yeah, that'll be looked at the stewards for sure. And now we're going to be looking at where these guys come out compared to Lucas Bergold, who's now in the pit lane. Obviously, that contact will not have helped either of them. I think there's a real chance that Lucas Bergold could potentially jump both of them.
So there's been
unfortunately,
unfortunately,
I'm going to have to run just for like 2 minutes. There is something that I really forgot that I needed to do before 9 o'clock tonight. That's just my Scrabble brain at the moment. I'm going to keep us on Grant Willimot so that you can commentate on this battle that I'm sure is going to happen when Lucas Bergold comes out of the pit lane. So I'm going to keep focused on this top 3, and I'll be back in just a couple of minutes. I'm so sorry.
Bergold is still stationary. I will let you know as soon as they're down and away. 29, 30, 31, 32. They are down and away. Where is Willimot? In relation to this battle, they are both coming out. It doesn't look like fault. Where's Bergold? Bergold is out and on underway. They're inside the white line. Can Bergold hold off Willimot on the inside of turn 1 on fresh tyres? They are not going to be up to temperature. Willimot's got the inside for the next corner. What can Bergold do on Willimot now? Can't quite manage it. Is going to have to look out for Faulkner behind. Those tyres not being up to temperature is going to hamper them side by side down into this long sweeper. Too wide on the way in. Bergold holds it out, runs Faulkner out wide. This is giving Willimot a chance to half run away now again on those fresh tyres that are now going to be up to temperature. And it looks like Bergold is starting to hold up Faulkner now with that car coming up to temperature and pressures there. So it'll be interesting to see who's got the pace at the end of this lap and going into the next couple of laps with that one. But it looks like at this moment in time, it looks like Willamette has got the job done, having pitted a little bit earlier and has managed to get the car up to temperature and pressure. But who's going to have the grunt at the end of this stint, at the end of the race, with the tyres to make sure they are able to have the grip? There are a couple of cars that are still out in front and have now pitted. I was going to say, are they going to run really long and potentially run a short second stint? But no, they are now in, and this is now the battle for the lead. So it is as it was before the pit stops, but it is significantly closer as Faulkner is right on the tail, right into that gearbox of that Ferrari of Bergold now. Bergold is very much under fire, and again, that's opening the gap up as Faulkner goes for a bit of a dive. It's a tiny braking zone into that corner, into turn 3, I think it is there, 3 or 4. Into there, so it's a tiny braking zone, not a huge amount of space there to go for a dive, but gave it a go anyway. But again, these two fighting are still just letting Willamette run away a little bit. If they started just trying to hold station, they could probably have half a chance of catching Willamette on that one. Everything will wash out at the end of this next lap. As it was a 41.7 for Faulkner and 41.6. Well, 41.755 and 41.695 for Willamette and Faulkner, respectively, on that last time. Last time by, it was a 47.202 for Bergold with that pit stop in there as well. But I can almost guarantee that Willamette will have had the advantage now. That gap has gone out pretty much a second on this lead pack. They go across the stripe. 40.912 for Willamette, 41.335 Bergold, Faulkner 41.355. So tiny differences between these between second and third, but as a result of those two fighting, that has left Willamette to run away to the tune of almost a second and a half already. But is that car going to struggle towards the end and be under fire from these two Ferraris? Well, with fighting like this, who knows what's going to happen. Having a look back down, Hagen is on the tail, starting to get onto the tail of Galmini. Mondolese is on the tail of Tatari. That delayed 71 BMW on the tail of 999 Ferrari. 71 BMW being in 17th, so that's quite nice. Nielsen is now right on the tail of Fuller and going for a position there after being delayed due to damage. Doesn't quite manage to do it. Can they get the drive on the exit? Indeed, they very much do. Can they make anything work? Coming into... no, not quite. Coming into Camel there and didn't quite manage to make it work. And then into the last corner. Fuller having to go very defensive across the apex there from Nielsen. So we'll keep an eye on that one. Hagen is genuinely starting to close this gap quite a bit on that Ferrari now, obviously getting the drive out of some of these slower corners so much later than the Ferrari on the brakes. The Ferrari very much feeling like has to go defensive on the way in. Hagen's got the drive and is able to run a much tighter apex on the second half of that at the top of the hill. Swings it out wide. Again, the Ferrari feeling it has to go very defensive. Hagen get a switch back on the exit and get any kind of drive. Definitely getting up behind that Ferrari and really getting onto its gearbox there and trying to make something happen. How is the gap at front? It is still...
It's going to happen now here for Barry Hagen. He's had a far better run out the final corner. We know how good that Porsche is on the brakes. He's alongside Gallamini already, coming towards the braking zone. Oh, they almost touch. Porsche on the inside, Ferrari on the outside. Barry Hagen again through the acceleration zone. That Porsche is just so good. Whoa, cuts the nose off through turn 2 and makes the move happen. That is crazy. I see that we were wrong about the fight at the top, as now Lucas Bergold and Ethan Faulkner are fighting, and actually Ethan Faulkner has gotten ahead. Ethan Faulkner has gotten ahead in the Visceral Esports 167 Ferrari, ahead of Lucas Bergold here, as Mattia Calandini has had a problem there, falling down the order, lost a bundle of positions all at once, coming towards the S's, down to 11th now.
Look, 9 cars having some issues as well.
And there's been contact between Tatari and Mandalesi, I believe, as well.
Calandini hard into the wall out the exit of turn 4. Was it turn 4? I think it was. Out the top of there, that car went into the wall hard, looped it on the curb, and that is not a wide bit of track with not a lot of runoff area on the inside. So that is going to be a rather unfun car to drive now. They run very wide on the exit of Camel there. Drive through for Tatari in the 999 car, so I'm assuming that is
he's just gone off track again.
Limits issue.
Yeah, I think there was contact with Davide Mandalesi that's caused some damage, and he's gone off track again.
O'Reilly has also picked up a drive-through as well.
Yeah, and these drive-throughs, they will be track limits or pit lane speed limit related, because we do not we do not give drive-throughs or stop-goes unless we are in an endurance race. So in these, even this 80-minute race, a sprint, we still class that as a sprint format. So drive-throughs and stop-goes are not something that we give out, so those are going to be given in-game.
Indeed. The first thing I did do when I saw them was have a quick look. Have seen them occasionally in the 71 in trouble again, causing 15 seconds, causing collision with car 29. As I flipped down to have a look at the
car 29.
Car 29.
Not here. That? So have we lost someone else? Is there another driver we've lost?
973. Where is 973?
973 is currently 23rd. That's Brandon Fuller.
Fair enough.
Yeah, we can absolutely have a little look at what Brandon Fuller's been getting up to.
We started with 24. We're down to 23 now.
Yeah, but we lost we lost someone really early on. No, I don't think it could have been, unless there's a penalty update coming from the team. No, that's lap 29, not car 29.
Oh.
We don't know who the collision was with. I would assume with Tatari, because that was the car that I saw around, and then having to come into the pit lane. So I would assume it was Tatari that was involved in the contact there.
Apologies, they have clearly changed how they do their how they write them out, because I'm used to seeing the car number there as well. Calandini, after seeing that car into the wall really hard, is doing an absolutely stellar job keeping crazy behind them. The front end of that car is pretty dinged up. There's some good separation between the bonnet and the front bumper there, so that car's not going to be happy, and it's been running wide on the exit on a lot of corners. But they are doing a stellar job holding up Crazy there, although it looks like Crazy has just managed to use that understeer that Calandini is struggling with, although he's still got, both of them have got fantastic straight line speed. And yeah, that's... Oh, that was not fun. Calandini ran a little bit wide, and Crazy just squeezed them a little bit more than they... I think there was racing room given, but yeah, that didn't go well. Again, stewards will have a look at that.
Yeah, stewards would definitely be having a look at that one.
Though we do have a recording system that records contact and records a clip of the video. I don't actually know how much time it is, but it's a reasonable chunk of time. And yeah, they will have a look at that. Yeah, so Fuller's down in 23rd and still going. Bergold is half a second back on Faulkner. Faulkner was a lot closer, has suddenly dragged out a bunch of time. I will see what happens when they cross the line with their lap times, because that was a much bigger gap, much smaller gap to Willamette than it is now. They've lost about half a second to Willamette, so I don't know what happens there.
Yeah, like I said, the pace at the front here is so tight that just losing, just having like one minor moment out of a corner can cost you a couple of tenths on track. You know, normally if you look at the mid pack, for example, you can lose that couple of tenths without it making a noticeable difference to the gap around you.
Yeah, I mean, even just in fourth, you lose. You know, the gap back to fourth is 11, almost 12 seconds. And then it's 10 and a bit seconds back to USA further on as well. So you can lose a chunk of time, and it will be too big a deal. But this gap at the front of these top three is not having a good one. It's not going to do you a lot of good if you lose a very small amount of time.
Yeah, indeed.
How far was that? That is Tatari recovering after the drive-through. O'Reilly will be the next car up the road that will be lapped. O'Reilly's got pair damage on the side of that car, so evidently been side by side with a few people there as well. Lely just cracks the gap down, starts cracking the gap down to under a second there from Crazy, who has dropped right off. Yeah, that's because that was that issue. Just remembering everything that's been going on. Caldini has picked up a 15-second penalty for cause of collision on lap 31, so that will be the moment that we saw there.
That would have been the one with Krapetzi, won't it?
Yeah.
Look at this again. Lucas Bergold, the pace of these Ferraris is really kind of swinging to and fro at the moment. Last lap, Ethan Faulkner, you know, two and a bit tenths faster than Grant Willamette in front. A tenth faster than Lucas Bergold, but Lucas Bergold is so close behind at the moment that that Ethan Faulkner can't really afford a mistake. Obviously, he's looking primarily at hunting down Grant Willamette for the win, but he, you know, one slide, one dip into the grass, into the gravel, anywhere around here, and he is going to have a very familiar-looking Ferrari coming past him yet again.
Indeed. I'm wondering if the two of them have just dropped back the line astern and are just trying to bring that gap back down. We've still got 20 minutes this stint left. I wonder whether Willamette may have done the same as the first stint in going possibly a little hard on their tyres to start with, and is now, and whether we see in the last kind of 10 minutes or so that gap start to really come down, as we saw in the first half of this race with Willamette just starting to struggle with those tyres, and then it will be how much can these two hunt them down and who can benefit from that. Because as soon as Faulkner is close enough to Willamette, he's going to have to start looking in his rear view as well to make sure that he doesn't get Bergold going for a move and then losing places as a result of going for a move to try and gain a place. Crazy is starting to get back on terms with Calandini. That's kind of about the only thing. I mean, Lely is starting to, as my timing screen starts to have a bit of a moment, I think there might be some lag from somebody. Lely was doing okay back there in the Aston. just starting to hover around that second mark, so we'll keep an eye on that one. I think crazy, Calandini's had some issues, or has realised that that car is behind them and is going to potentially let them by, but that gap suddenly went down from a second to only a couple of tenths now, so we shall see what happens here. Oh, that's going to get looked at. That was a bit mean.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Crazy just drives through Calandini there.
Yeah, Kripetzi. I mean, that's dangerous because this is, you know, there's been contact between the two of them before. You know, we're now looking at a possible, was it retaliatory, at which point you're looking at a far more severe penalty than the 15 seconds that Calandini got for the original.
If you've got your stuff up on the side, you can see that from the ticker neck on the side of the screen, in the corner of the screen. You'll see that alongside the gap, you'll see there's a 15-second penalty. So, yeah, whatever that is, whatever that reasoning was for that, was not a good one.
No, and Calandini continuing to fall down the order now. I think obviously some hot tyre pressures because he's spun around. Damage to that rear left corner. There's going to be, you know, quite substantial, possibly suspension damage from the angle of the impact. I saw it happen kind of in the back of my screen. So it's
there was already damage to that car. As O'Reilly is getting out of the way of the lead as well and truly there. So yeah, there's a lot of that car already had damage, and that's not gonna help matters.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's really disappointing to see. Obviously, I'm not gonna call a shot here and say that it was a reactionary move or anything like that. But evidence would suggest, you know, they've come together before. It's been a 15-second penalty for Calandini in that situation, and then the next time they're together on track, there has been a very aggressive, very questionable move from Gabriele Kripetzi. You know, there's not many situations where 2 + 2 doesn't equal 4, is what I'm trying to get at here, you know. Obviously, I hope it's not that situation. But, yeah, it could be a very big penalty coming Gabriele Kripetzi's way if the stewards evaluate it and decide that he was at fault. Because obviously I was watching it from the helicam and it was right at the back of my shot. So they have far more in terms of the HUD and the inputs to decide as well, and better camera angles.
Indeed, as Calandini is in the pits and dropping down the order. Just saw a sole spin from Tatari, got the rears out on the curb and beyond, coming out the hairpin on the way down, and just had a bit of a long lazy spin.
Yeah, well,
kept it out of the wall, so no damage done there. Lost a couple of places, but no major harm done. Southcott is starting to close in on the back of USA as well now. In that VM Tech car, so that's going to be one that we'll keep an eye on towards the end of this race. It's not coming down majorly quickly, but the last few laps there's been consistently a tenth or two in favour of Southcott, so that's a car that's trying to regain and pull back up through the order. Looks like they might be able to manage possibly at least one more place. It looks like everybody else, Duplessis is way too far up the road from this battle, so not likely to get much more than the place that they are going to be catching up with now. There is a back marker of Nielsen, so that will be one to keep an eye on. Both of them get past cleanly. There, no harm done, no time lost, either of those. As we are coming down in towards the last 15 minutes of this race, with 16 and a half to go.
Yeah, and I mean, this is really painful for Mattia is it Mattia Calandini? Yeah, it is. It's over 2 minutes stationary, 2.5, 3 minutes.
Parked it to the end of the race.
I think there's a possibility. Obviously, they had that 15-second penalty to serve as well, but even with that, this is a long.
Yeah, I think that's have parked it because 3 minutes stationary, 10 seconds transfer time. So yeah, I think that might be a parked it for the rest of the race, and we'll go from there. Car 83 or 15 seconds. Car 84 is... oh, that was that for the last 15 seconds. Car 117... Gabriele Caprese, 15 seconds, causing a collision on lap 35. Well... what did that... oh yeah, Davide ran into the back of... the 86 Nielsen car coming out of the S's. That's why Davide ended up with the 15-second penalty. Ended up having a bit of a rub on the back and spun Nielsen out of the way. Bergold still keeping... The gap's not really opened up, but it's not got any smaller. It's just there, hovering around the point half to about quarter of a second gap on Faulkner there. Just keeping them honest, making sure they can't feel too comfortable in that position. Just let them know that you're there, you can't make any mistakes. All of them doing a fantastically consistent job. Bergold was 0.2 faster almost than the two cars in front. Very identical times. 141.275, 141.237 for Willamette and Faulkner respectively, with Bergold going 141.070. So really starting to get down, almost down to the 40s again with that car. So very well done there. Faulkner just made, Willamette just maintaining that gap on Faulkner around the 1.4 second mark, with Southcott now down to well inside that half-second mark comfortably on User. So that's going to be one to keep an eye on as well a bit more now towards the end of the race, as we are 13.5 minutes to go. As Galmini has just started to break that second marker with on Hagen in the push as well. So yeah, that looks like Calandini has parked it to the end of the race, with 5 minutes 40 odd now stationary. That will be a parked it and done for tonight. That's a really sad way to see that one end. Always like to see as many people as possible, at the very least, across the line, even if you're lapped down, just getting to the end of the race and making it to through there is very well done. Mandalese picked another penalty. What was the other penalty for? The other penalty Mandalese had for... I can't remember. It was contacting somebody, but I can't remember what it was. I am wondering whether Barry has started to chew the tyres on that Porsche. That gap's starting to come down quite quickly. Last time by, it was a big difference in time, and I feel like it's going to be much the same this time around. Not quite as bad, only by about a tenth, but previous lap was almost a second slower. So clearly some issues there for Hagen in that Porsche. Wondering whether the car's starting to run low on fuel, and starting to run low on tyres again. Porsche really susceptible to front tyre wear, especially towards the end of a stint, with the weight on the front of that car starting to come off due to the fuel tank being there. Anybody that has got ACC, feel free to go and have a giggle at how much a full tank of fuel changes the aerodynamic balance and ride height of the front Porsche versus low fuel. And you'll begin to understand just how much of a handful that car can get into when you are towards the end of a stint. Southcott has got past User. Apologies for not seeing that one. User has been passed by Southcott, and Southcott is now out to almost half a second on User there. So that was starting to feel more like an inevitability than a... it was more of a when than an if there, so good one there. Although user started to try and fight back. I wonder if that was a mistake. And sometimes it's a bit of a weird one. Sometimes you can get into a bit of a groove, and then somebody comes past you. You make a little mistake, somebody comes past you, and then suddenly you're able to do much quicker lap time because you're out of that sort of rhythm, but you're in. You can start focusing on really pushing. So I wonder if that's what we're going to see here with Usa starting to get quite feisty with the back of Southcott's Pateron there. Bergold, again, just keeping Faulkner honest, nothing major there. Galmini has, that gap's opened back out to Hagen, so I wonder if they had a little bit of a moment there. Not a huge amount else to commentate on. I guess the question now will be how much can Southcott eat into the... Hello!
Sorry, I disappeared again.
Into the gap of Duplessis now, 14 seconds back on that Audi, so I guess the question is how much can Southcott, for their own understandings, we see Tatari running wide, who is a backmarker to these two cars of Southcott and Usa there. See how much they can eat into that gap and bring that down by the end of the race. That's going to be, I feel like Southcott might be the one, the what could have been car of this race. Qualified very well, started reasonably well, unfortunately had that issue that left them running wide and has been playing catch up ever since.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry about having to step away again. My girlfriend had a small incident whilst opening a bag of rice. I'm sure you can imagine, just from those few words, it kind of pieced together what happened in my kitchen. So I had to go and aid the clean-up operation. It wasn't even while she was trying to open it. She was trying to, you know how they've got like little reseal tabs, like little sticky bits?
Oh,
she was trying to take that off. She was trying to take that off, and it just ripped the whole front of the bag, like out of nowhere.
Oh.
Like she didn't even do anything weird to it. So I don't really know or understand why. But yeah, had to go and aid in the great rice cleanup.
I'm going to sound really old at this point. I'm going to suggest Tupperware tubs and then empty it into that when you get a new bag.
Well, we've currently got our rice in a we've just put that whole bag into a Ziploc bag. So
yeah, that will also work.
Yeah, probably got enough weight behind it to be used as a as a doorstop now. Whilst I was gone, obviously we've got the penalty having come through for Gabriele Capezzi. I think it's been, yeah. I think obviously the stewards have more access to stuff, but I think it's hard not to say that there was at least a slight part of that incident that was maybe not necessarily fully revenge based, but at least partially.
Yeah, I think the way it carried on, the way that Capezzi kind of just kept their foot in and just drove through that incident rather than trying to back out of it. Yeah, that feels like possibly not necessarily an intentional one, but very much realised what was going on and just carried on regardless. As we see Galmini get past Hagen, I wasn't paying full attention to what happened there, but they are through. I didn't entirely see where that happened, but Hagen, Galmini has been threatening to get past Hagen. I wonder whether Hagen is struggling, as I said earlier, with that Porsche and the front tyres being a little less than happy as that car starts to run low on fuel.
Yeah, of course, this battle between Galmini and Hagen has been raging for a good few laps here.
It's been on and off all race. It don't really go away even through the pit stops. I think they pitted about the same time.
Yeah, and obviously they've still got.
Yeah, they were basically at the same. Within a lap of each other, they're pitted. So, pretty much on the same strategy with each other. So yeah, that will go on, and we'll see whether Hagen can do anything towards the end of this race to pull that back and get that position back.
Yeah, although obviously these cars do both have a position coming anyway, because of that 15-second penalty for Gabriele Capezzi. So they will both move up a place in the final standings when they're the final results when they're published. Because unless they crash into each other, they're not going to lose all of that time. As the 613 car, that's Southcutt. That's Southcutt.
So hard to get past User.
Yeah.
Throwing it all the way
Around at turn 3.
On the outside.
Let's have a look at what's happened here. I'm going to show the replay. So we're coming into turn 1 now. He's got a Ferrari right behind him. I would assume that's Alberto Usai. Indeed it is. Oh, there's not been contact here, has there? I really hope there hasn't. We're going to see it. I think there might have been. Yeah, there was.
There was just a little bit of a half dive to the inside from User. They weren't really there.
No.
Honestly, they weren't really there, so I think that's a bit unfortunate. We'll see what happens there.
Yeah.
With
I
5 minutes to go.
I expect that'll be put in as a post-race penalty.
Yeah. Might see it, but we might not see it until the very last lap.
I think we're going to be trying to avoid kind of giving penalties on the last lap. Just because sometimes we can get pressured because of the time constraints, and then the wrong people end up getting the wrong penalties. It's caused all sorts of problems before. As Jordan McGonagall's gone around as well.
Has gone around and had an issue as well.
Let's have a look at what's happened here. There? Just on his own, clips the grass with the rear right corner, coming into the hairpin at the top of the hill, and then having to reverse out of that situation. Not fun at all. Very quick job. A very nice J-turn, I must admit, from McGonagall there. And whilst that's happened, I think as Brandon Fuller got around as well.
He's had to reverse quite a long way. He's done well not to actually get pinged by the computer for that one, for how far they reversed. It's surprisingly tight on that one, actually.
Oh, Barry Hargan again with a run on Gallamini coming into turn 1.
Also got past Caprezzi.
Oh yeah, Crapezzi has had a moment. There's been so many cars that have gone off this lap. I've not been able to keep up with all of them. Crapezzi's gone off. McGonagall's gone off.
Oh, McGonagall.
So these guys have gained 3 positions. Well, no, McGonagall was ahead of them. So these guys have gained. Barry Hargan has gained 3 positions in under a lap there.
Yeah, so very well done there. That gap.
It's 10 seconds for Jordan McGonagall. What's that for?
Poor rejoin? Is that 10 seconds? McGonagall poor rejoin?
Yeah, it is poor rejoin for the 619 car.
Where they've booted it back onto the pit or onto the track.
There's also been a 15-second for car 58. That's Alberto Usai. That's for causing that collision with Chris Southcutt.
Yeah,
and that is going to cost him.
That one. That was.
That's going to drop him down to P8 as things stand at the moment.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah. That's a penalty.
Yeah,
hefty penalty.
Crazy is on the back of McGonagall. I'm wondering if after that incident with Calandini, whether the front of that McLaren is less than happy. The black livery, you'd think it'd be easier to spot damage, but
no, yeah, I can see it. It is pretty crumpled.
There is a bit on the front of that car.
Yeah.
I've just done a slightly different one. It's also got a chunk of damage on the front of that car as well. So not sure what's happened to that one.
Possibly when it dropped down the order, might have been a spin and some light contact with a wall somewhere. There are plenty around here, quite close to the track.
That gap with okay, we've only got a couple of laps to go, but that gap has suddenly shot down with the leaders. It was about 1.5 seconds, and it's now down to 0.8.
Yeah, Grant Willimut with not a brilliant lap, and Ethan Faulkner with a relatively good lap. 3/10, just less than, taken out last lap. But this is going to be the last one. This is going to be the last lap.
Yeah, this is the last lap.
So if Ethan Faulkner wants to make something happen here, yeah, they cross the line with less than 1 minute and 40 seconds left to go.
Fair enough.
So it is going to be final lap.
This may or may not be the order. We'll see what happens. They are equal distance, 0.8 across the board for these top 3.
Yeah,
So I
absolutely.
wonder if they've just consolidated position and
I
just
mean,
hung on.
these guys have just been stuck to each other all race.
Yeah,
The gap, I don't think the gap between any one driver to the next driver has got above 2 seconds since the green flag dropped.
yeah.
Really,
Barring the slight pit stop differences,
yeah,
it's not been much
yeah.
between the
When
laps that they were all running through the pits because they all pitted at slightly different times.
yeah, when
Outside of that, it's not been. I'd almost been going to say I don't think it's been more than a second and a half.
I think at one
Really,
point there was
because
we've been up towards the kind of 1.7, 1.8 a couple
yeah,
of
'cause the
times.
start of the first stint, wasn't it, with Southcott running away. I
Yeah,
think Southcott has learned from that and
it's
has
Willamette
managed the
at the
tyres a
front.
little bit better this time round in the second half. Especially considering it was a slightly longer stint by I think maybe a lap or two.
So it was
Between the
Ethan
two blocks.
Faulkner. Ethan Faulkner boxed first. Then it was Grant Willamette a lap later. And then it was Lucas Bergold, he boxed last. And that is the checkered flag. Grant Willamette takes the win. It's Ethan Faulkner behind. Yeah, 6/10 covering just 1.2 seconds, covering the top three at the end of the race there. That is incredibly close. Quan de Plessis is going to be across the line for P4. A brilliant, brilliant race for him compared to the disappointment at Silverstone last week. I'm sure he'll be really happy. Obviously, a South African. In fact, he said he lives very close to the track. This is his home track, so a fourth place there, he'll be
good
really happy
result
with.
at home. Indeed. User is going to come home on the timing screen in fourth, but does have that 15-second penalty.
It's also not fourth; it's fifth. Someone has already left the server, which is messing up the timing screens. This happens all the time. Getting a solid finishing order, we're going to have to wait until we go back to the pit lane. Unfortunately, so we're going to have to wait for everyone to take the checker flag because the positions just get all jumbled as people leave the server very shortly after the race finishes.
Sorts itself out. So yeah, very well done to everybody who has finished. Well done to those who are coming across the line. Just see Lily go through. Hagen and Galmini still trying everything they can to occupy the same bit of track, but I think it's going to go to Hagen over Galmini there, so very well done to those two. Hagen just taking the last of the top 10. Galmini just missing out there in 11th. McGonigal comes home in 12th. According to the timing screens at least. That will be that.
Yeah, here's the actual rundown. So this is penalties included. So it's Grant Willamette, Ethan Faulkner, Lucas Bergold, Quan de Plessis, Luke Wilson, Chris Southcott, Elias Fernando, Alberto Usai, Dario Vianello and Pierluigi Lelli making the top 10. Then we got Barry Hagen, Gallamini, Jordan McGonigal, Gabriele Crepezzi, Davide Mandalesi, Lucas James, Squatto, Finley O'Reilly, Kostas Savidis, Raffaele Tatari. Let me go back to the garage so I can get the rest of the list. Making the top 20. Yeah, then Dan Nilsson, Brandon Fuller.
Nilsson, Brandon Fuller, Calandini and Gambarelli to round out the 24-car grid that started.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. We've not got anyone waiting for an interview at the moment. I will open the field. I believe I'm going to have time before my dinner is served to do at least a couple. I'll have to keep them a little bit brief.
That's fine. Where is that?
Let me just copy the channel link. Control V. And now we'll wait and see. But yeah, brilliant race here this evening. It's been, it's been for the most part really clean. It's been a lot of a lot of really good racing up and down the grid. And here we go. I had a funny feeling that we'd be speaking to this man this week after the disappointment at Silverstone. I said to him, well, obviously it's the home track next weekend, one that's near and dear to your heart, so hopefully a better result. And indeed it is. P4 overall. What a what a completely different outcome to last week. I'm sure you're really happy with that one.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely happy about this result. Another P4 for the standings. But yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed in myself for this one because I kind of had a lot more time on the table to give, but unfortunately I just crashed under the pressure and just could not get the car how I wanted to go. And yeah, I just in the end tried to just bring the position and the car back, just to have a solid result instead of trying to push the limit.
Yeah, absolutely. As we know, the Audi is not not an easy car to drive. It's a very quirky car, a car that has a lot of both understeer and oversteer. It's one of those beautiful machines. So I'm sure that just keeping the car safe and driving it safely was a far better result for you than trying to push and possibly spinning or crashing and losing positions.
Yeah, no, I had a few moments in the race where I just kind of, when I decided to push, I just kind of clipped the curbs or clipped the grass under braking, and I almost lost the car. But luckily, I kept it still on the track, but just lost a few times. Because I kind of wanted to fight ahead, but the guys up front just ran away, and I just could not keep up with them. So I was just kind of in a area of my own, where I'm driving away from the guys behind me, but I can't keep up with the guys in front of me. So I just kind of had my own little race.
Yeah, absolutely.
A little bit stuck in no man's land. I mean, very well done for hanging on to fourth anyway, even with what was going on there. So very well done for hanging on to that one for you.
Thank you very much. Hope to see you guys again on Monza.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think Monza's going to be a good race for you? Do you think it's one where the Audi suits the track, or do you think it might be one where you struggle a little bit more?
I would say it's another track that's it's gonna suit myself and the car a lot. I've done a few races there beforehand in championships, and the car just felt really great on Monza. So hopefully I can bring more pressure to the guys at the top on Monza as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I wish you the best of luck for next week. I'm sure we'll be speaking to you then as well.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, have a good one, mate, in a bit. Have a good rest of your evening as well. We're going to drag in one of our own now, Barry Hagen. In the end,
Hello.
scrapping up to
Yapper himself.
Yeah, absolutely. Scrapping up to P11 in the end. We didn't manage to see what was happening. There was it seems like on lap 44, everyone decided to spin, crash, and spin again. And by the end of the lap, suddenly you were alongside Kyalami and overtaking for 11th. When coming into turn 1 at the beginning of the lap, you were in 14th. So
Yeah.
a lot happened in that one lap.
I could have been in the top 10, but I think it was Kyalami took me out at one point. I think it was lap 6 or 7. And obviously fighting with him and Davide was quite it was quite tense at the very start.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, it was the guys ahead were just too fast. Like, I thought I was doing well with what the pace I was doing, but them guys are just on another level.
Yeah,
I just
absolutely.
could not keep up at all.
Yeah, really quick.
I was quite fortunate because a lot of the cars ahead of me just took each other out.
Yeah, there was a good few incidents that happened in front of you.
That one where I think it was the 619 Ferrari rejoined, took out another car, and then gave me like 2 positions. I was like, oh, I mean, I'll take it.
Oh, wonderful.
That was chaos, and it was tough because I was really pushing. I was really pushing as hard as I could, and I just not even close to the guys at the front. They're just another level.
Yeah.
But
It looked a little bit, particularly when you were battling with Galmini at the end there, it did look like the Porsche was Porsching with its front tyres. How was it out on track?
the tires were fine. The problem I had was there was a few times I had to back out of corners because of really ambitious dive bombs, will we say? And there was a few times I actually had to back out of corners to not get hit.
Right.
A couple of times we're with Gallamini, and there's a couple other cars as well, like especially down at the bottom of the hill before Cheetah, like the right-hander. The amount of times I would I would start braking, look at my rear view, see the car coming, had to actually turn left to avoid them.
Oh, it's called
And then that was
cheetah. I've been calling it camel this whole race. Oh, how have I done that? Oh, I
Honestly,
should
didn't
know.
I just ran with it
Oh,
because it sounded like you knew what was going on,
God.
so it's fine.
Oh, damn it. I shouldn't. Yeah, my bad. Anyway, looking forward to next week, Barry. We're at Monza, a track that I'm assuming is going to be
no.
pretty strong for the Porsche.
Yeah, in the corners, but the rest of it's gonna be awful.
You got the acceleration. You'll be fine.
Let's hope so. The Porsche doesn't feel too bad at Monza. It's just more the guys in the BMs and the Aston Martins will be really fast. So I'm a little bit worried about that, but we'll see. Monza's
Yeah.
a fun track, so
Well,
Yeah.
I wish you the best of luck, and I'm sure we'll be speaking to you again next week.
yeah, of course. Have
Yeah.
a good one. See
Have a
you
good one
later.
in a bit.
Bye.
There was a...
And now we're going to talk to Davide Mandalesi, who I believe finished. It's somewhere again around that kind of 14th, 15th area, but I can't remember exactly where.
The best way I can describe how your race went, it looked like it got a bit spicy.
Yes, it did, but I'm gonna appeal the second penalty because I don't feel responsible for that. Maybe I am. I'm not saying that, but I don't feel like it, so I don't know. Anyway, I could have done better. I don't think there's anything to hide there. I could have done better. Qualifying start. Actually, the start I did a very great job in lap one, but then I couldn't adjust in one specific braking zone, which I've missed a couple of times, and I lost 4, 5, 6 positions there because I just missed that braking zone twice. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
You did an okay job of digging your way back through the field, obviously. I feel like you got a little bit lucky with where you got given the your first penalty, because you looked like you pretty much got it and then were able to dive straight in the pits for what wasn't too off-schedule pit stop. How did that go for your end?
Actually, I was thinking about doing the pit stop one lap earlier than what I actually did, and that would have been much better because the penalty would have came after I got out of the pits, and that way I wouldn't have been pulled back so much behind some people that were slower than me, and I wouldn't have been held up like that. I think sometimes I should just think less, and I thought, okay, I can go into the pits, but I could maybe wait some more laps, and I just didn't get the opportunity that I had. So by waiting that one more lap, I just screwed up the track position. Ended up behind someone's lower, lost time there. Actually got another penalty from contact that I had there, but none of that would have happened if I just pitted right away before the penalty came in. And actually, I could have also gained a couple more positions because the penalty was 15 seconds standing still. And I came out of the pits, and some people were in front of me, like 14 seconds in front of me, even though they were gonna be behind me basically if I just pitted earlier and got the penalty after the race. That way, it was just a more suitable place for me to be on track and maybe take an advantage of, maybe fight a little bit more with faster people and less with slower. I don't know. Could have gave me some more chances. Let's say that.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to next weekend in Monza. Do you think that that's going to be a strong track for you, or do you think that there's going to be maybe a track where you're slightly weaker?
I think people can be much faster than me there because it's just Monza. People like to go there and do laps and laps after laps, and it just one track that people know a lot better than I do, I think, even though I do a pretty good job there. I think most of my competitors are gonna be faster than me there, and it's just gonna be a place where I need to hold tight until the end of someone gets some penalties, like just like I did in the Silverstone race. I knew I was gonna struggle. I didn't over push. I think it's the key there. I will do the same, trying not to overdo anything and just try to capitalize on some other people's mistake.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I wish you the very best of luck.
Thank you.
And I'm sure we'll be speaking to you next week as well.
Yes.
Indeed.
Thank you.
It has been lovely to hear from you.
Thank you. Good night. I think yeah, we're gonna speak next week.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that brings us to an end here tonight. The top three, I mean, crazy fighting the whole race. Kyalami always brings the drama, always brings some really close racing because of how technical it is. Little mistakes can cost a lot of time. So yeah, it has been brilliant. Thank you very much for joining me this evening, Zeta.
You're quite welcome. Just a couple of things come through from chat. Barbecue Possum, good race, guys. Happy with P5, top 3 were gone aliens. So, yeah, I believe that's Luke Wilson. Is that their YouTube handle? So, yeah, very well done. That's somebody we've often seen fighting at the top of the grids. So, very well done there to yourself for a P5. And yeah, hopefully we shall. Oh, we'll see who's back. There's the endurance race tomorrow. Is it 4 or 6 hours of?
6 hours tomorrow.
6 hours of Monza tomorrow. So feel free to join us for that one. I believe things go live somewhere around about.
I think we're
midday?
live midday, aren't we, pretty much? Yeah.
So come join us for that one. Shenanigans at Monza. It's always an interesting one. So that one. There's the community race on Sunday. So if you haven't signed up to that one, have a look on SimGrid for that, and all the usual places, and everything. All the information for that will be there. And then we'll be back on. Is it still M2s on Mondays or Tuesdays?
M2s are Tuesdays.
I was gonna say, I think there's still some M2 racing on Tuesday, so that one followed by the Rookie Wednesdays, and then some more World Tour on Friday. So that's what we've got coming up on Toga. Obviously, all the socials you can see pinging through on the top of your screen. Go check us out on all of those. Come say hello. A lot of the final race results are posted on Instagram as well, so you can get to see all of those once the stewards have done their best. With that,
Yeah, absolutely.
With that, I think
Thanks a lot, everyone, for joining us. We will see you next time. M2s are finished. That's a very good point. The last race has already been. So no M2 Tuesdays.
No M2s on Tuesdays. There we go.
Yeah, but thank you all for joining us. We'll see you next time.